What's up YouTube, I'm just another guy and welcome back to the Welsh Way here with Aberystwyth Town. So here we are now, the Champions League group stage draw yet again. We've got all our transfer to go through. It's been a pretty hectic summer in terms of transfers, so we're going to take our time going through that. Also, apologies in advance if there's anything wrong with this video. I'm just trying out some new settings for recording, so say if there's something wrong with maybe the screen resolution or something, that probably will be fixed by the next episode. So again, apologies in advance for that if something's wrong. If not, you know, good times. Anyway, to the transfers. It's been probably our busiest transfer summer ever for transfers, I'd say. Let's have a look. Let's look through the ages. Maybe last season was pretty hectic. Oh no, we've had some hectic seasons before. But it's been a really hectic season, from my point of view anyway, because of the money that's sort of been thrown around and how sort of transfer offers that have come in, because a lot of our players are wanted by very big teams. And it's because of how good of a season we had last year. We've been such a good team. Our reputation has grown so much as well because of it. Because we're now a three-star team, we actually had to cancel affiliations. I think it was Watford and someone else as well. I can't remember, but a few affiliations were cancelled, and pretty much all of our players are wanted by bigger and better teams. So because of that, some people were sold. Just because of the sort of the fees that were being offered, and some people were brought in just to the fact that we were replacing others. But that's just prefacing some of the transfers. Let's go into it anyway. So you already know about Dave O'Connor. We'll go to the outs first. You already know about Dave O'Connor leaving for 2.3 million to Derby. Elsewhere, Will Evans left on a free transfer. Very good player in his history for us. Had a few good years as a first-choice striker, but then slowly faded out of the team. He did have that incredible year in the Champions League where he got 12 goals. But the past few years, he's just faded and decided it was his time to move on. Elsewhere, Gary Lowry left on a free, but he was already halfway out the door anyway. He wasn't going to ever become anything. And Inverness signed him in January, so we knew about that. Elsewhere, Stephen Bowen left for £800,000 to Southend of the Championship. Yes, Southend are in the Championship. He's not gone down the divisions. But as a decent player, but when you look at some of the signings we've got this year, I feel we've got players that have the potential to better Stephen Bowen. And again, £800,000 is quite a decent chunk of money. You know, that's about winning a game in the Champions League in group stage anyway. So I can't knock the money. He was wanted by a few teams, and I decided, you know what, yeah, I can let this guy go. Because again, like the people we've brought in, I brought people in before I actually sold this guy, and I thought, well, we've got a lot of people battling for the centre mid position now. I can let someone go, and I thought Bowen was the guy I wanted to get rid of. So 800k there, I think that's a good fee to pick up. Ivan Sedmak, the Welsh Premier League Player of the Year last year, was wanted by a lot of big teams, and I was like, well, why has this guy got so much after him? Now, he's a good player. Played very well for us last year, but he doesn't really got the pace, in my opinion, for a left midfielder. And so I noticed a lot of clubs were actually willing to pay quite a bit for him. So I offered him to clubs for about 2.5 million. We got quite a few 1.6 million bids come in, and in the end he chose to go to AA Ghent in the Belgium League. So really, really good bit of transfer market stuff there. I couldn't figure the word anyway. A good bit of whatever, I can't figure the word. But yeah, it was a good deal overall. Because considering how we brought him last year, 1.6 million a year later is a hefty fee if you compare that. And hopefully we'll get a few more things like this happening, where we sign players on, they have maybe a good year with us, and then they go on to, we go on to sell them. That's ideally what we should have happening, because it's just a really easy way to make money for us. So Sedmak left the club, 1.6 million. John Laird left the club. I decided I didn't really want him at the side anymore. Not because he was a bad player, it's just that I don't feel he would have been happy sitting on the bench. I was willing to keep him on the bench, but then after a while I sort of looked at him and thought, well, 8k a week for someone to sit on the bench is a little bit too much in my opinion. I'm sure I can get someone to sit on the bench for cheaper, and I have. And so because of that, I signed the other keeper before I even started offering Laird out and tried getting rid of him. But 750k, he's gone to Chelsea. It looks like he's played a few games. He's got a bit of form there. Has he played in Premier League or anything? No, he hasn't. He played in probably a few friendlies, but overall I think he'll probably be a backup player there and probably move on. Joe Pearce, 300k, left the club, was our fifth choice striker. Decided, again, with a few people bringing in this, a few people that have brought in this season, and looking at the team, I decided we didn't have a place for Joe Pearce. I'm going to call him John Second. We didn't have a place for Joe Pearce, and offered him to clubs again. I thought, well, you know what can we get out of this young 19-year-old striker? And it's 300k to Hereford of the Championship. Yes, Hereford are in the Championship. We've been so long in this game now, a lot of action has happened, but Hereford of the Championship. Oh wait, they've got an ex-player of ours as well. Dick Alston was an ex-player. Look at that, incredible. £6,000, he's not playing the Championship. But anyway, I'm sure he'll do well there. He's a very good player, very good target man, but not good enough for our level of Champions League anymore. He's good enough for this league level, of course, but not the Champions League level I'm looking at. So 300k, I think it's a good selling, good amount of money to pick up. Then, the biggest guy and probably the saddest departure of the team is Colin Drake, the captain of Aberystwyth Town. He's been with us for a decade. Since the age of 16, he'd been here. Hadn't broken the team, he's broken the team. He's been the first team for 8 years. And he said he wanted a new challenge. And he was already, sort of halfway out the door. He was our sort of 5th choice centre-back now, and 5th, 6th choice centre-back, actually. And so it was sort of like, well, the idea was for the past 2 years, I'd always planned that if he'd ever spoken out, said he wasn't happy, he wasn't getting enough first team football, he wanted to leave the club, I'd more than willingly let him go. And that it finally happened this season. So I said, you know what, yeah, you can leave for club. I'll try and get you out as quick as can. 230k isn't really a lot of money for a player of his ability. But at the current time, he was valued at 80k. And so I think I got a decent fee out of him in the end. I know now his value has skyrocketed. How's he playing for Everton? He's playing very well for Everton, as you probably would expect. He is a good player. It's not like he's a bad player. But I'm really disappointed to see him leave. But especially for that fee, I felt we could have got more out of him. If he'd have been playing first team football and in the Champions League and Europa League, he would have been valued at a lot more. Loaned out a youngster, and last guy to leave was Mitchell Armstrong, 300k. We signed a new right midfielder, which meant Armstrong didn't have a space. He'll always be remembered as that guy that somehow helped us get to the Europa League semi-final, though, for his incredible appearances last season. 300k, again, isn't a bad fee to pick up. Someone 29 years of age, approaching 30. Over a pretty decent fee. So I'm happy with the fee we received from people leaving. But the in's the really important side. We already know about Phil Rogers. Elsewhere, Ross Fitzpatrick coming from Chelsea on a free transfer. Now, this is an attacking midfielder who I'm preferably going to be playing either up front or in centre mid. Either way, I'm happy. So far this season in the league, he's played up front and has done pretty well. I think he scored 3 goals. No, 1 goal. I completely miscalculated that. 1 goal and 4 assists. So he's all right. He's playing up front, 20 years of age, got a little bit of potential in him. Hopefully he'll grow into it. As you see, 3.5 star up in the corner. And not a bad player, some alright, decent stats as an ad for a centre mid or a striker, which is why I'm pretty happy with this transfer and chuffed that we got him on a free transfer because he can play in multiple positions, which offers quite a bit of squad depth. Next guy I brought in was Jason Lovegrove. This is already pre-arranged at January. 19 years of age, centre back. Going to be playing him quite a bit this season in the league to try and develop him into hopefully his full potential. He's a 3-star potential player, 2-star currently, and I would love for him to reach his max potential. 1.5k a week, so quite a large wage, but overall I think he'll be a good player, and he's done well in the league so far, and he's played decently for Newcastle in the Championship last year when he played, so I'm sure he'll do really well for this division. Elsewhere, free transfer. These 2 guys here are centre midfielders, and they are partly the reason we got rid of Steve Bowen. As you see, we sold 5 days after these 2 were brought in, but these 2 were brought in, and these were already pre-arranged a week before they were actually due to come, so I had time to prepare for Bowen to leave. But elsewhere, but anyway, to the transfers. Antonis Leapis, English? How can he be English with a name like that? I'm sorry, I can't. He's Greek. Okay, that makes more sense. But yeah, this guy, decent player. He's a centre mid, but quite defensive-minded centre mid, and effectively he can play centre back, sort of shows that. But he can also play centre attacking mid. I don't really get that. He's got all right stats, but not too bad. The thing that really caught my eye for him was his 19 determination, his 18 teamwork. I really liked them stats in the player and decided I wanted to get him in. 3-star potential, not the highest potential player we've signed this season. And really in the pecking order, he's quite low down the list. I tried to loan him out, and I still am trying to loan him out, but no one seems willing to sort of bring him in, which is a massive shame. But he'll play a few times in the league this season, and hopefully he'll develop, and we'll sell him on. The next transfer on the list was Ricky Limbaud from Norwich, and I'm very, very excited to see how this guy goes. He's 20 years of age, so he's on the older side for a sort of young player that we want to develop. But you look at them stats: 19 determination, 18 teamwork, 19 work rate. Defensive-minded midfielder, which is great, which means ideally I'll get Croft to cheer him at some point. If I can anyway, I'm not sure if Croft is old enough, but really, really good player. Got some decent potential. He'll be playing for the most of the season in the league alongside Halpin. and I'm really looking forward to see how this guy develops. I played with MK Dons last season, didn't have the best he is. I'm sure he'll tear up this division though, but hopefully he'll develop into a really good player. And again, worst comes to worst, we'll sell him on for a bit of profit. That's the idea. The next guy brought in was Neil Cockings. He was brought in as our backup keeper for Laird. As you can see, they're 5 days apart from the buying and selling of both of these players. And we brought this guy in just to make sure we could, had the backup keeper in before we got rid of another keeper, because I may have had troubles trying to find one. But look at that, 1.3k a week to sit on the bench. I'm happy to pay that. He'll play occasionally in the league, but I think majority of the season, no matter what the competition is, I want Lloyd playing and trying to develop as much as he can. But this guy, for 1.3k to sit on the bench, compared to Laird, who would have sat on the bench for 8k, I'm more than happy to pay that. Now, last two signings we spent money on. Now, Stuart Slater is the left midfielder who we brought in to come in, backup left midfielder who we brought in to come in to replace I've said Mac. So, if you see the fee separating the two, 1.6 million compared to 400k, which means if we were to see the profit and loss between trying to replace the player, 1.2 million gained for us. And Slater isn't as good as Sedmac. I'll state that up now. He's not as good as Sedmac, nowhere near. But he's 20 years of age. He's got some potential in him to develop. He'll be playing backup this season, so he'll be playing in the league games. He's played decently so far this season. And overall, I think he can develop, and I think he can be a good player. He's on 4k a week, so quite a bit. I don't remember what Sedmac was on last year. It probably was around, maybe, I don't know. Actually, I don't have a clue. I don't want to say it was around 7.5k, because I'm sure I wouldn't pay that for a backup player of his standard. But overall, I'm pretty pleased with this transfer. For a backup player, he'll do very nicely indeed. And the last guy we brought is to come in to be our new right midfielder. Yes, Jenkins is going to be dropped to the bench for the upcoming European campaign. But Templeton will hopefully come in and do well. If not, Jenkins will come on. A bit like Armstrong, Jenkins is always going to be there for us to come on as a bench and be an impact sub. But Ewan Templeton, Scottish right midfielder, 23 years of age, Scottish international as well, 6 appearance. Very good pace, decent determination, work rate and leadership, and alright dribbling, crossing and finishing stats and first touch as well. I mean, not the best player, but apparently, again, potential is the main thing I want to look at now. I want to sort of have these players to sign them pretty cheap now and grow them into really good players. He's got the potential. I'm going to play him purely based on his potential. If it doesn't work out, again, Terry Jenkins is there to come in and fill in his role, and that's ideally what you want as a backup player, someone that can come in and will do the good job for you. Not really ever proven it. Moving to Liverpool at a young age, he sort of struggled to prove it in the Scottish Premiership, in League One and in the Championship. He'll tear up this division. It's whether he'll do it in Europe. That's the big worry. But he's played really well in the playoff game, for the Champions League playoff game, getting 2 assists and a goal. So I'm confident he can do well and really show that he's worth his 800k fee, because he's the second most expensive player to be brought by the club, just behind Miyazaki. So let's go into the fixtures and have a look at our European campaign so far. So we beat Dynamo Tbilisi? I don't know how to pronounce the last bit of their name, from Georgia. We beat them very comfortably, 5-0 in the first leg and 5-1 in the second leg. And then in the Champions League playoff, we played Victoria Pilsen. Again, I probably butchered that. But we beat them 6-0 in the home tie, with Lewis getting a double, Wallace getting a hat-trick, and Jose getting 1 and a 4-1 victory away from home, with Templeton, Wilson and a Lewis double stepping in and scoring the goals for us. So we are through to the Champions League group stage once more. We'll go through the teams and talk about how the other teams have done in Europe. Bala, who are still actually yet to play their the Europa League playoff second leg, but I'm pretty sure they won't do too well. They lost their first leg 2-0 to the Portuguese team. They didn't play too bad, didn't have a lot of ball though, and I'm sure they won't win that game again. So Bala are probably out. Bangers City, they lost in the Europa League third qualifying phase to Ferenc Kovalszó, the Hungarian team. They lost 2-0 and 4-0, so they didn't play particularly well either, which is a shame. And then the last team to get in Europe, the Europa League I should say anyway, is Port Talbot, who lost to Helsingborg 2-0 and 3-0. And for TNS, for the first time in over a decade, I think it is, that they've been in the Champions League, they did really well. In their first game, they drew to CSKA Moscow 1-1, and then they beat CSKA Moscow away from home 1-0. put them through to the Champions League playoff. And in the first leg, they drew 1-1 away from home. And I honestly thought they were going to sneak through because, look at that, they play evenly fought away from home. You'd expect them to come back home, I should say home, at the Racecourse Ground, Wrexham's football team's home ground. I thought they'd come home and beat them. And they lost 4-1, which is a real shame. They played the same day as me. And the fact that they weren't 1-0 up as well, that'd be even more disappointing. But they are in, I've taken a screenshot, they are in the Europa League group stages. So for the first time in the club's history, we have 2 teams from the domestic divisions playing in group stage football. And not only that, it's for the first time 2 Welsh teams as a whole, including the likes of Swansea and Cardiff, have played in European group stages at the same time. Last time this happened was when we were in the Europa League group stages and Swansea were in the Champions League group stages. So, hoping TNS do very well. It was a shame. I would have loved 2 teams, Welsh teams, in the Champions League, but, you know, what are you going to do about it? Of course, I'll keep you updated when we come back about how they did in the group stages. But we are now a second-seeded team, which means hopefully we'll get quite an easy group. Now, that's the main thing. I'd like to play Dynamo Kiev and get a little bit of revenge for TNS. But let's draw the first bunch of teams. So, out of them, who do I think we can beat? I think we can beat Bayern. I'm saying Liverpool as well, but I don't know. Either way, I don't really fear too many people, so it'll be just interesting to see who we can get. So we have German, I'm guessing German champions, Dortmund? No, second place. We have German, Egger Davis is in charge, Jesus. From Barnet to Dortmund. That would be an incredible story if that happened in real life. But we get Borussia Dortmund of the German division. They're soon out. Like I said, I really want Dynamo Kiev, but any of these guys, I'm not too fast, I'm sure we can beat. So we got Galatasaray, our parent club. It'd be good to go there and beat them. And the last people, I'm not really fast. I'd like to play Levski, Linfield. I'd like to play in the UK team. And we get Tel Aviv, the team who did very well in the Europa League last year. And overall, that's not a bad group. That's not the worst group. We're not playing any champions. We'll continue to draw. And we'll go to the next day. So we're not actually playing any league champions, from my knowledge anyway. Or any really major league champions, because Dortmund finished second. Galatasaray, they did win the Turkish league, but I'm sure we can beat them. And Tel Aviv, I know won the Israel league, but I don't really fear them much either. So apparently we're handed a tough group, but really I don't think that's too tough. We've got a lot of messages to read. I'm just going to scroll through. As you see, I do scout my players quite a bit. But yeah, group stage is looking decent. I want to see how what's their names? Bala did. How have Bala done? They just played their second group stage game. They lost 2-1 on the day, which is a shame. And I wonder if they've done the group stage draw for TNS. They have not. When is the group stage draw for the Europa League? I want to see this. I'm kind of interested to see what they get in the groups, because it's the first time that 2 teams are in it. 25th, so it's the next day. What I'll do is I'll continue forward. Okay. No, I don't want to read the messages. Please. I just want to continue forward. Let's just scroll up. Okay. No! And I'll cut this out and I'll tell you, I'll come back once we've got the draw done. Okay, so TNS are going to be playing Schalke, Anderlecht and PSV. They probably couldn't be handed a more difficult group in the Europa League. But good luck to them. Our game's been rearranged, but good luck to them. I really hope they don't get knocked out with 0 points. Let's say that, because first time we were in the Europa League, we got knocked out with 0 points. Then again, we were a semi-pro team, and these guys are professional. But why have they got so many Irish people? What the? But yeah, next time we get back will be the hopefully Champions League knockout round draw. Ideally, it would be, because I'm sure we can do it. I really am. I don't think this group offers too much of a threat, and I'm sure we can beat them. And I swear we've beaten Dortmund in the past. We have. No, we haven't. We've lost to them twice. Great. Alright, let's maybe tone it down a bit. I don't want to become arrogant. Next time we're back will be around the January time. It's like December 25th, I think, normally, the group stage draw. Whenever, the knockout round draw, or whenever it is. So, until then, peace out.